CD&SAM podcast episode 33 here with a trade deadline special that all went down today. Deadline was at 2 o'clock our time. So obviously a lot to get into, but we want to, kick it off with the biggest news of, the day, and probably the worst thing I've woken up to in a while is Kevin Durant getting traded to the Suns. So where do you think that puts their, first of all, takes on the trade, and then where does that put them?
Yeah. First and foremost, I mean, we thought this was going to be a fairly bleak deadline, and that it was not. And I'm happy to some extent, but I'm also not because my favorite team just got put in a harder situation. But I like to see the league get switched up a little bit. But for me, I think this was a good trade for both teams because the Suns obviously are in a win now spot with aging guys like Chris Paul as their point guard. And, they're a contending team with Booker, Ayton, even though they had to give up a cornerstone of their franchise, Mikal Bridges. I mean, they got freaking Kevin Durant in return. So,
Yeah. The snake slithers west, and joining a team that I already considered to be contenders in the West. And I think for the Suns, I know you gave up a lot as far as your picks, and you gave up Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, kind of glue guys to that team. But you have a chance to add a guy like Kevin Durant, who I still believe is in his prime, one of the best scorers of all time, and not give up any of your big three, so to speak, of Ayton, CP, and Book. I think that you have to take that. You have to be happy with where you are, and as a chance to win now and win maybe next year.
Yeah, definitely. To the other team in the trade, the Nets. I gave this take in our sports analysis meeting at school. I believe this is going to be a fun Nets team, kind of similar to D'Angelo Russell's team back when Jared Allen and him headed the Nets when they took the Sixers to
Six
six
games.
games? 6 games?
Yeah,
Was that the series with the fight?
I think so.
Jared
Maybe game
Dudley and
3,
Simmons. Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, I'm intrigued by the Nets because in the NBA, I don't know if there's ever been a team that has been projected for a 50-win season sitting, at the trade deadline, that has decided to blow it up. So it's really a situation that we've never seen before, where you've got really what's going to be. I mean, they're going to be a scrappy team, and they've definitely got some potential guys like Cam Thomas that can score the ball, maybe take over a game,
Yeah.
but a team that's not going to be at the same caliber with the Eastern Conference teams that they're competing with, but they're in a position to where they're going to have a good chance to be in the playoffs and be in a 7-game series, which is an interesting spot for a basketball team to be in.
Yeah, the one thing that Nets got going for them this year is that the NBA is like it's kind of more moving towards being positionless, and
Yeah,
the Nets are gonna run out, or they could run out a starting five of straight wings, literally straight wings. Their shortest guy being 6'7", Dorian Finney-Smith. Um, so yeah, I mean it'll be interesting to see what goes down in Brooklyn these next few months.
no, definitely. How would you sum up the Brooklyn Big Three experience and, kind of the KD experience in his, 3 years, 4 years there?
I think it kind of solidified that the Big Three era didn't really work. I mean, you could argue that, yeah, I mean Curry and them, but for some
And
reason
that was
that
a
just
drafted group, though.
yeah, that was a drafted group, and then you had Braun and them, which was
That's the most
great,
successful.
Bosh and LeBron in free agency, but yeah, I mean it's just a complete dumpster fire, and it's good to from a small markets fans perspective to see that crumble before our eyes.
Yeah, definitely a little bit sadistic as a basketball fan watching the Nets demise. But I remember that series, that playoff series that they did win. And they would have games where, maybe Kyrie and Harden weren't having their best game, but, KD was, and there would be some other
The
combination.
16 of them.
Yeah, the 16 games. But I remember specifically that playoff series against the Celtics, which they, killed the Celtics. and just thinking like, man, this is really probably going to be an unstoppable team that I thought at that point might have be the favorites to win the championship. And KD's toe being on the line, Harden getting hurt, Kyrie being Harden being banged up, Kyrie getting hurt was kind of the start of the end, and it's going to end up being one of the better what could have been in the NBA.
Yeah. Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, but did you have the Celtics winning that series over Brooklyn?
That was a while ago.
I think you did.
I think
And I remember Gianni
I might have.
really being on you for
I
that.
might have had the Celtic. Yeah, no, I definitely did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's not how it went, but it's an interesting spot that the Nets are in right now. And I'll give credit to them because they definitely didn't get fleeced in the KD trade.
No. I mean, some people were arguing that maybe they got too much. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see.
The transition to the Russell Westbrook trade. Sam, who do you think was the winner out of the three teams of the Russell Westbrook trade?
I think it's the Lakers.
Yeah.
If I had to rank it, I would say Lakers, Jazz, and T-Wolves.
Timberwolves. I don't know what the T-Wolves are got going on over there.
Okay, my question to you, would you rather have Mike Conley or D'Angelo Russell? Because I think they're similar. Not play styles, but
I'd rather have Mike Conley. Because Mike
that's,
Conley, he's a leader, man.
yeah. And I think it probably is the better move now, but like next year, year after that, I don't know. So whatever Minnesota is doing right now, I'm very puzzled by.
Very perplexing.
Yeah. And then for the Lakers, this was not one that as a Pelicans fan I love to see because I genuinely think the Lakers got a lot better.
Yeah. I don't see how the Lakers got worse. Like, you cannot make an argument for that at all.
No. Well, I think that actually you could make a case that a starting lineup that looks like D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, LeBron James, Jared Vanderbilt, and Anthony Davis would be one of the best in the league.
Yeah.
But now the question for them will be, is it going to be too little too late? Because obviously that's a lot of roster overhaul, and it's going to take some time for those guys to be able to blend together on the court.
Yeah. Just got a notification from Bleacher Report that Dinwiddie just got his first bucket back with the Nets.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Oh, I forgot they have Dinwiddie.
I did too.
It's interesting. Yeah. Okay. Backcourt, maybe him and Cam Thomas. Claxton still at the 5.
I'm telling you, man, they're
McHale.
going to be a fun team.
They could be fun. I agree.
Yeah. What do you think the Jazz are going to do with Russ?
It's a great question because his contract doesn't give him a whole lot of trade value because I would just say, oh, they trade him this offseason. But I don't know if there's a lot of teams that would want him on that deal. So I think that the goal for this year remains the same, which is to get to that that playoff spot through the play-in tournament because Russ has had a better season than I think people give him credit for. He can definitely help them out in the short term. So in that respect, it's not a bad move for them. But I think giving up Jared Vanderbilt to get Russell Westbrook in that pick in the long run might not be the move. We'll see.
Yeah. Sam, if you would have told me 4 years ago that Russell Westbrook would have been on, 4 different teams since he's left OKC, I would have looked at you like you were.
I mean, if you had said that he was going to play for the Wizards and the Jazz, that would be a really head scratching thing to think of like 3 or 4 years ago. But here we are. It's a stark contrast to how the start of his career went.
Yeah.
Kind of him being like the loyal guy, and now he's bouncing around franchises.
I mean, that's kind of out of his hands, though. I mean, he seems like he wanted to be in Los Angeles, but
yeah, definitely. But it's interesting the way his career has shaped out.
I think that pretty much does it for the Russ trade. I don't really like being too harsh on teams like the Timberwolves till we see like what they wind up doing.
Yeah.
But initially, I'm kind of perplexed by the moves the Timberwolves made, and really happy for the moves the Lakers made, although I'm not.
Yeah, not happy that they're getting better, but
No.
it is a good move for them.
Good for the Lakers.
Yeah.
Moving on to the Pels. How about the Pels, man? Going out getting the 3-and-D wing, Josh Richardson.
Oh wait, before we get into that, I know there could be some people listening that have never heard of Josh Richardson. Can you give like a brief description?
Oh yeah, sure. So Josh Richardson is a 3-and-D vet. From the Spurs. He spent time with Miami, and that's probably the only team I know he played for prior.
He played for the Sixers for a little bit.
Did he spend time in Dallas?
Yeah, I think he was with Dallas. He was with Boston for a little bit. He's been around the block, and this is his 8th season in the league.
Yeah.
But for the people that don't know who he is and are thinking, what are the Pelicans, doing? What's the move here? It's, I think, a really good pickup because what the Pelicans were missing, right, was A, shooting, B, secondary ball defender on ball, and C would be experience. And Josh Richardson brings all of those things to the team, and I think he could be a nice piece on the bench.
Yeah. He's a career 37% shooter from beyond the arc. So that's really, really what the Pelicans need.
Yeah, this season I think he's shooting 36%, but last year he shot 44%, so obviously that shooting ability is there.
Yeah, no doubt. He will probably be above Kyra in the rotation, but
yeah, I think he probably takes those minutes.
Yeah.
And I think in a playoff series with the Suns, it could be a good combatant if he can stick Devin Booker or Chris Paul in some of those minutes, because I know that's been a big question that I've been asking today. Well, what do we do now to try and guard those three?
Yeah. Just the Suns are a matchup nightmare, but any other team is a matchup nightmare for the Suns.
At the same time, the Suns aren't guarding anyone either on defense. So,
and still, the Nuggets don't scare me in the West.
No, I don't think that the way I love Jokic. I think he's the MVP this year, but I don't think that the way that he plays is really conducive to playoff winning. I just don't think he's like physical enough on defense. And when you get to the playoffs, it's a lot more 2-point shots, a lot of more stuff they're trying to get to the rim, and it's harder.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go.
I just feel like they're not gritty, if that makes any sense. Like the Pelicans, man, they got guys like Najee, they got guys like Jose. I just feel like the Nuggets, they just like, I mean, I can't say I watch the Nuggets. I mean, West Coast basketball is a pain in the ass. But just from like the highlights I see and just the kind of vibe I get coming off the Nuggets is just they're a good regular season team, just not really built for a long 7-game series.
I don't want to say they're like a soft team because I don't think they are, but they're just not like a really physical team. So as far as other trade stuff, there was a few small things. I think the most underrated trade of the day goes to the Warriors for landing GP2 back on the squad. That's a very
5 second-round picks.
Hey, it's worth it, I think. I mean, that's a very winning move for them. Getting a guy that was in some ways like the heart of the team last year at times, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and they lacked really one of those some of that depth off the bench, and now they got it.
Yeah.
And Sadiq Bey to the Hawks is fine.
Bones
Highland to the
Clippers.
Clippers, that's right. That's a nice pickup for the Clippers, actually.
And then you saw John Wall's going back to Houston.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, and the Eric
they can't do John Wall like that.
Yeah, I know, dude.
That's dirty.
That is dirty.
That's heartbreaking. Any other? So I have one last thing I'd like to discuss, and that's the one of the biggest names on the list, not on the board, not getting moved today. That's OG Anunoby. How do you think that went down? How he didn't get moved?
it was really interesting what the Raptors did in general. Because I mean, you saw they picked up Jakob Poeltl, where he started his career, which is really, again, perplexing because Raptors were a team. They're sitting in the play-in in the East, not really threats in the East. Many people thought they were going to blow it up, and they kind of made a win now move, if you want to call
Look,
it that. I mean, Jakob Poeltl's not going to be you're not going to be picking up Jakob Poeltl to sell games. Jakob Poeltl's a winning player.
yeah, I think Jakob Poeltl is the Harrison Barnes of centers. He's about as boring as they come, but he's a solid NBA player.
Sam,
And
your analogies, man, have been on point.
I know, but he's a solid big man, so I guess it's a fine pickup for them. But um,
I mean,
I think
I don't know.
I think that the problem with the Raptors and hoop heads know that Masai Ujiri is one of the better GMs in the league. Obviously, got him that championship 2019, but hoop heads also know that he's one of the harder GMs to make trades with, and I think that has maybe held them back in recent years because I look back at the Kyle Lowry situation a few years back, and when he was supposed to be getting traded to the 76ers, instead at the deadline they didn't move him, and he walks to Miami for nothing at the in the offseason the next year. And I think similar things could be happening with OG Anunoby, where they just end up with nothing, and I think it might stunt the kind of rebuild that I think is inevitable in Toronto.
Yeah. They got Scotty Barnes, who I feel like could wind up similar to OG.
Yeah, I think Scotty Barnes, despite being the rookie of the year, has a incredibly high floor, but a not so high ceiling.
Well said. Unlike, I feel like Evan Mobley, on the other hand, has a really high ceiling.
Mobley's played like his game is getting more well-rounded, but he doesn't get as many touches with those guards.
Yeah.
Y'all know that I'm a big Evan Mobley supporter. If you've been listening, I've been bold enough to call him a future Hall of Famer.
Sam's made a bunch of bold takes here on the pod.
And a bunch of bold takes. You got any other trade stuff, NBA stuff? I want to keep this exclusively NBA.
Yeah, I mean that more or less does it. Go Pelicans.
Go Pels, go Chiefs.
Yes, go Chiefs. Me and Sam both.
Yeah, that'll do it. Thank you for making it all the way. If you did, be sure to do all the YouTubery stuff. We missed the last time on Spotify, but we'll be back on there. Cue the outro.
Sam
Sam
and
and
CD,
CD,
CD and Sam.
CD and Sam.